Evening. Can everybody hear me? Okay. Thank you for coming this evening, and please stand for the pledge to the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we'll start with the approval of the minutes. Motion to approve the minutes of the meeting of April 10th, 2024, regular meeting of the town board.
So moved.
Seconded?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 And once again, thank you, Deborah, for all your work involved in doing very detailed minutes. Thank you. And we don't have any bid openings and we don't have any public hearings. And so I just have a few announcements. First of all, permits. If you had worked on in your house, but have not got the required permits, please go to the code department and get it rectified there. You can get permits afterwards, but they will consider that it was done safely and was done correctly. And assessments was on our work session agenda. There's nothing on the current agenda. We're not going to be voting on anything today, but we are discussing considering assessments and possibly having a public forum in regards. And one of the attendees at the work session had suggested a presentation, factual presentation on learning about the assessments first. But of course, we want to hear what everybody feels about it. And that would be afterwards, followed by a survey. So we want everybody to be fully engaged with the stuff that we can decide on. The major stuff, the day-to-day activities are our responsibility, our job. But with the major thing about how we move forward, we need to make those decisions together as much as possible. So we want to hear your opinions. And I want to address something that is not on the agenda tonight, but I know that a tremendous amount of people we're very heartfelt about and very concerned. And I want to thank my colleagues for really spending a lot of time and attention. And Dan Reynolds, our town attorney, who is not here today, who spent a tremendous amount of time researching the facts for us. And it was extremely informative and extremely helpful. And I really want to say that my thanks to all of them. But I want to address it. So even though it's not on the agenda, we have hundreds of our residents who were and are very upset about the building of the Bun Hill housing development. And we took the survey to try to gauge exactly what you want. And in doing so, we got, first of all, thank you to everybody who responded to the survey. I read every single response. And some were cut and pasted, but most were not. Most were this is how I feel. And I love the fact that everybody really explained why and what they want. And so in considering this whole topic, there was a possibility of moving to repeal the PDD, which is the permission for the developer to go forward. And it was a change in the zoning, which is considered basically spot rezoning in a rural residential area. And a lot of people were upset about that, myself included. And so again, we looked as hard as we could at all the facts that we saw, but I want to address it because I know people feel so strongly about it, as do our board members. So we had on the survey 262 responses. And as you know, if you took the survey, it wasn't a yes or no answer because it's not always that simple. But in going over them, I found that 47 of them were concretely, we must move forward, this is a good thing, or at least it's a done deal, and we need to move forward. So 47 out of the 262. The rest were all against the principle of the development. But those responses were extremely mixed. First of all, I want to say very clearly that we all heard you, that you don't want rezoning in an area that is going to change the nature of it. And you want planning going forward, and you want it to be done better and more responsive to the people. We all understand that. And we are all planning for it with a comprehensive plan committee, and we will make a comprehensive plan, and we plan to do it in a planned way going forward. So of the rest of the responses, everybody was clearly saying this was a bad idea. It was a bad project. We don't want this project. However, very clearly in it, after reading our town attorney's opinion and listening to what we said at the public hearing, it was very mixed in terms of what we should actually do. So many said proceed if possible, because there is the question of supermajority versus majority. And then a lot said proceed if advisable. And then others said they understood that this probably can't be fixed, but never again. And lastly, there was a sizable group, but certainly not the majority, even of this group, that said that we should proceed absolutely no matter what. And so we took all that with the sense of most people don't like the idea of this project. And we looked at what we had researched. The legal opinion to us is very clear. Dan has a tremendous amount, 30 years of experience. He did a tremendous amount of research to give us the best legal opinion that we could possibly do, including the Association of Towns, which is really the experts in the field. And so his conclusions were that it did need to be a supermajority, that as the landowners' lawyers already said, they're absolutely going to sue us if we try to change it. And that it would be extremely expensive litigation because they were planning to bring in New York lawyers, and we would have to match them with at least the same. And lastly, our chances were not very good of winning it. And that is quite simply because it has been 5 years. If it had happened, we were here the day after this decision was made, the story would be different. But in the interim, the company, for better or worse, had permission of the town for 5 years to do this. And in doing so, they spent a lot of money, for better or worse, and invested a lot monetarily in order to get what they perceived, what they expected was a benefit. And they had town permission to do that. They had legal authority to do that. And so at the end of it, so we have to look at, before we went even further, I looked at the insurance. We have insurance as a town, and it covers us for unexpected litigation. And unexpected litigation is like, we do the course of what we think is appropriate within legal boundaries, and somebody sues us, or a developer isn't happy, but we're doing exactly what we are supposed to do, and we do it going forward. We are protected for that. We have insurance for that. However, this case is different. Number one, because the town gave them permission for 5 years, and in reversing it, we would have then done an intentional act, which would have left us open to liability. Because basically we were saying, no, 5 years later, you had permission for 5 years, now you don't, you spent all this money, but we're taking it away from you. And so at the end of so that situation is different. That intent, knowing the fact that they're going to sue us, knowing that is a complete reversal of the policy, and that there already has been a financial loss, for better or worse, of the developers and the landowners, then it is a conscious act. Conscious acts are not covered by insurance. The simplest way to think about it is, listen, we all have car insurance. If we lose control of our car, we drive into a tree by accident, we are covered, right? We're covered in personal liability, physical liability, whatever liability, we're covered. However, if we intentionally drive into a tree, knowing what the possible consequences are, we are not covered. It's an intentional act, and there is the difference. And then, of course, we looked at how likely is it that we lose this litigation. And here I'll switch to my opinion, because I looked at it really seriously. Personally, I did not like this project. I do not like the idea of it. I do not like how it was done. I professionally disagree with two of my colleagues, but I believe it needs to be done better. But that being said, for all the reasons that I just mentioned, I think that a court would find that the developer had a reasonable expectation of being able to build this development, and interfering with that would be the town's liability. And it could go anywhere from just their costs that they laid out in a judgment to cost plus possible expected benefits to cost plus expected benefits to punitive damages. And with no insurance, that comes directly out of the town pockets. And quite frankly, we don't have that money. So for me personally, as much as I dislike this project, I could not vote to repeal the PDD, because I can't leave the town that vulnerable to a court case that I believe that we're going to lose. And this is because it's 5 years all along. I'm going to open the floor to my colleagues if they want to make a statement to their opinions. But that took away, because I could not proceed, that took away the majority vote, no less the supermajority. Therefore, we're not voting for today. But I'm going to let my colleagues speak in a minute because I said my opinion. But let me also assert to all other companies that try to sue this town, this is a unique case. And it was a conscious directive from the town board for 5 years that affects what we do. Going forward, we are not afraid of litigation. If we have a sound legal standing, we will fight any company that tries to stop us or tries to pressure or bully us into doing something that is not good for our town. So please, other companies should not think we are afraid of litigation. We just do it wisely and we do it responsibly. So I open the floor to my colleagues if they want to make a statement.
So I will say that when you spoke, Maria, you mentioned spot zoning, but in actuality, the court ruled that this is not spot zoning, that it is perfectly within the right of a municipality to zone in this manner, and that the planning board and the PDD process is advisory in nature only. So an absolutely, the first vote of the planning board was 5-0. When it came to the town board, it was 5-0. It was 5-0 every time it came to the town board. This landowner has owned this property. It's been in their family for over 100 years. They too have the right to expect that they can utilize their property without endangering others in a manner as they stated and as they got the permission from the town to do. So I know I'm the only rural landowner on the board, but landowners do have a right, especially when you've paid property taxes on that land for all those years. And I understand that people have hiked through there and enjoyed the property. And as a rural landowner, we know that occurs, but there comes a time when we do have the right to expect that we can utilize our property in a manner that's not hurting other people.
Thank you.
I'd also like to mention that I was against this project from the start. I think it's mostly in the wrong place than being a bad project. I think the project itself is probably a good idea. I believe the location is just a terrible location for it. And I would have voted to actually make the change back to repeal the PDD and take the risk of the litigation that may or may not come. No one knows what the end result of the litigation would be until it's done. Having said that, that would be a risk that I wouldn't personally be taking. I would be giving to every resident in Vestal. If we lost and we lost substantially, that would come out of the pockets of the residents of Vestal. And I understand Ms. Sexton's concern about that and any other board members concerned about that and any public concern about that, that you wouldn't want another few $1,000s tacked on your taxes because the board decided to rescind something and they got into big legal trouble and big financial trouble over it. So I would still oppose the PDD. I would still move to, or I would vote if there was a vote to attempt repealing it, but it would be a risk that would be spread out over the entire town and not just myself.
Thank you. Rather.
At this point, I agree it's too late, given the litigation issues. That's just where I stand. I don't agree with the project myself either.
So I echo Councilwoman Messina's comments. I am for the project. It was, I don't want to repeat everything she said, so I will save that. But, you know, the developer Landmark has been a great developer thus far and very patient developer to work with as well. And they're doing a lot of things up in that district also that the town is not having to pay for. So I totally understand the residents that are up there and their concerns. I'm not discounting that, but at the same time, I think it's a positive move for Vestal and the growth and the development of the town.
Thank you. Okay, I wanted to answer out everybody because everybody took the time. 262 people took the time to do it, but a lot of people sent us heartfelt emails as well. And I want to say that we are listening, but we have to move forward with our heads, taking into consideration, but we will continue to take into consideration how everybody wants to proceed forward. And so we will be having surveys on things that are current, and we will hopefully be able to represent what everybody wants a lot better. We just couldn't take the chance in this one. It is a typical situation. Now going forward, once again, I want to thank my colleagues for working together so well to try to create a comprehensive plan and encourage development, but make a plan for it to protect our residents at the same time. So thank you. And with that, we'll move on to the first section of privilege of the floor. And remember, this is questions or statements that you want to make specific to the agenda items only. If you want to speak on anything else, there will be a section at the end. Okay, and once again, the rules are residents only, specific to the agenda, and please keep it to 3 minutes.
Please give your name and address when you speak. And again, it will be a 3-minute timer. All speakers are asked to state their name, their address. Each speaker afforded only one opportunity to speak in each section. All comments and questions must be addressed to the board. Conversations, questions for others should be addressed outside of the meeting. And we ask that comments regarding elected officials, town employees, and residents attending are not appropriate for a public meeting. Call, email, or make an appointment to speak to a board member or the supervisor to discuss these issues privately.
Thank you. Okay, so does anybody have any questions or statements for anything that is on the agenda this evening? Sir?
Eric Kretzmer, 8248 Circle Drive. This is from Mr. Miller. So after your comments there, you're okay with putting the town at a financial risk because you don't agree with the project?
I wouldn't say it in those terms. I would say that it would bother me greatly to put the town at risk. It worries me that if we did lose and did have a big financial burden, that would have to be taxpayer dollars that paid for that. And that really chokes me up about that. On the other hand, I do think it's worth it. It would have been worth a try to see if we actually incurred that liability. There's a lot of evidence to support that. but there's evidence that it would go to the other direction as well. In fact, there are laws that allow town boards to have certain abilities to move zoning back and forth without necessarily having a supermajority, although I think we would in this case. And also that would usurp things about landowner rights. But I'm not sure of all that. I'm not the lawyer.
Knowing the facts that what the lawyer is,
Mhm.
you're still supporting.
I would still support the repeal because I would want to get one more opinion from other lawyers. I would like to see more information on the liability and the actual rulings that have happened in the past on certain issues like this. I personally don't feel like I've seen enough of that information to be able to make a decision on.
I've seen enough items to not want to put the town at that risk.
Okay. Yeah, it's not specifically to agenda, but thank you. If you have any other comments or questions or anything in those regards, please keep it to the end, but we will entertain them at that point. Anything having to do with the agenda before we move on? Ma'am? Okay, can you, I mean, I'm so sorry. I know it's kind of awkward. Let's see if we can get this in a better place. Well, you know what it is? I can hear you, but we're not going to be able to hear you on the tape. And people tell us that they really they miss a whole lot when they can't hear somebody. I'm sorry for the inconvenience. I do apologize. We'll work on making it better.
And if
Thank
you
you.
could start again with your name, please.
Ann Catchmar, and I live on Marion Street. And I just have just a basic comment about the agenda itself.
Mhm.
It seems like there's a lot of things that in the several meetings that I've come to that are discussed that are not like specifically written on the agenda. I think it would help us all as residents if we kind of knew, like, for example, I don't see anywhere like where the Bun Hill discussion was. I would have liked to see that. I'm glad I was able to make it tonight so that I could hear the news, but just a comment about that for the future. I've also heard it from other people too.
Okay, no, I appreciate it. Maybe in the future, I'll put the topics down because the supervisor statements are really just my assertions, usually. Now it's more answer out because we did have a whole process of a survey. We did have discussions at the work session. And because these meetings are videotaped and the minutes are recorded, much more people are paying attention to them. So I'll try, but I'll definitely try to do topics in the future.
Because I
Thank you.
have heard it from other people too, but
No,
that
thank
aren't
you.
here,
I
so.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
And can I add to that, please?
Mhm.
And so, in actuality, the work session is where we discuss the items that are on the agenda in depth. And so if you need to get information from what's on an agenda, or what's being discussed, if you go back and look at the Monday night minutes, you'll be able to see all the information. And the clerk puts it out very in depth. So, that will help a lot if you go back to the Monday session where we actually do all the discussion.
And thank you. And thank you for the suggestions. We're trying to prove, we really are. So I also want to say, I do encourage people to come to work sessions because anything that does land up on the main agenda, we discuss at the work sessions. We now, and it hasn't been in the past, although I know it's been allowed at times. We actually have a time at the end during the work session where you can listen to what we're talking about. And you can ask questions or make statements at the end of the work session as well. The reason being that way if you bring up something we hadn't thought about or we need to research, we have 2 days to do it. We do absolutely listen to people who have comments about stuff we're going to be talking about today here, but it is helpful to have that lead time so we can do a little research and try to look into stuff as well. So it helps us and it also ensures that you have more input, as much input as possible. So thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, any other questions or comments on the agenda itself? Okay, let's move on. Let's go through the agenda. And again, there's an opportunity to ask questions or make statements at the end. Okay, so we move on to Resolutions and motions, we don't have anything specific. Public Works, Steve, do you have anything?
Under Public Works at this time.
Okay, thank you. And Finance?
Okay, request from Jessica Farley, Deputy Comptroller, for approval of a budget amendment to transfer $1,200 from Education and Travel line A 1110-4030 to printer contract with supplies line A 1110-4308 to cover a new copier lease to replace old broken copier.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a motion?
Motion.
And seconded? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. And
Request from Daniel Reynolds, Town Attorney, for approval to have Cogden Appraisal LLC appraise the property located at 408 Commerce Road, Vestal, New York, 13850, tax map number 158.08.1-1 for a fee of $3,800, and I'll make that motion.
thank you. And seconded? And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that's just an appraisal for litigation. And next one?
Request from Nicholas Angeline, Town Comptroller, for Town Board approval of 2024 budget transfers to cover 2024 bond and interest payments over budget estimates. Memo attached and addendum. I'll make that motion.
And seconded?
Seconded.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Next
Request
one?
from Nicholas Angeline, Town Comptroller, for Town Board approval. The 2023 year-end budget transfers to cover overdrawn budget lines. Memo attached and addendum. I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Hmm.
And just as an explanation of that, it's covered in the it's attached in the addendum, but basically the department heads didn't go over the budget. It was the budget categories that individual things became more expensive, and so they exceeded the individual category within their department budget. So it's an adjustment. And we actually had to sit down today to answer out for all of those to see what was going on. And we had a meeting with our department heads this week with Sue. So thank you for coming, for attending. And the department heads are now doing live invoicing. So when they pay for something, they actually they data entry it immediately, and they keep a live tally of how much they have in each category. So we're trying to improve the systems to make sure that they always know how much they have and where going forward. And they are going to be doing a printout for Nick once a month so that is available, so we can check in with them to see how it's going. And if we see that there's a problem in an individual category, we can make adjustments during the year to make it a smoother process going forward. But our department heads are doing a great job, and we're just trying to adjust it to make it more efficient, and that we can see and they can plan as well as they try to do. So, okay, thank you. So we'll move on to Steve, personnel.
10.1.1, approve the New York State Retirement System timekeeping resolution as it appears in the addendum. And in the addendum, we had Deb Wallace appointed, or as an elected official. We had Margaret Hatzel, who is our town historian, as well as Dan Reynolds, our town attorney.
Okay, thank you. Give motion to approve.
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you. And second. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And next one?
10.1.2, resolve to adopt the contract with the town attorney for outside services to be effective retroactively to January 1, 2024, and authorize the town supervisor to sign such contract.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. And seconded?
Seconded.
Thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And that's just our town attorney who has been working from January 1st. Our agreement was already agreed on from day one. It's just, we've kept him a little busy. So we're just getting around to doing the written contract. And luckily, he has not left us. So that's just an agreement that we've already had in place. We're now just signing off on it though. And Glenn, planning and zoning?
The planning and zoning boards have been doing really, really exceptional job. They don't have anything to bring to us at this time.
Okay, thank you. And public safety, Sue?
So we had a fire department audit Saturday, March 30th. Annual recruitment day for Vestal Fire was held Saturday, last Saturday, the Saturday before last, I'm sorry, April 13th. Chief Paffey and I visited all 4 stations and Councilman Miller visited the stations. We also offered a New York State Skywarn training at Fire Station 2 on Monday, April 15th for weather safety training and spotter certification and recertification.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Okay, administration? Robert?
Nothing at this time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, you doing okay? He doesn't have COVID, by the way. He's just doesn't feel well and doesn't want make the rest of us sick. So thank you for that. And thank you for coming anyway. Okay, receive and file. You want to read it?
Sure, so we have the warrants 2024, 15, and 16. These were the weekly warrants, which are actually the bills of the town, and Excellus Health benefits for April and May.
Thank
Also,
you.
we had a change of tenant, 337 Sycamore Street, Broome County Tax Map, parcel 158.06-1-28-11.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, petitions and protests, we don't have any. Old business, we don't have any. And other new business. So we're making an adjustment to the Town of Vestal Employee Handbook as follows. We resolve to change the Town of Vestal Employee Handbook to ensure that the Highway Superintendent and the Water Wastewater Superintendent have the same benefits upon retirement as their employees are as follows. Highway Superintendent and Water Wastewater Superintendent, effective January 1st to 2024, who were former operating engineer or CSEA blue collar in retirement. The employer will pay nothing if hired by the town before 1/1/03 and had continuous service from the town. An employee promoted from a former operating engineer or CSEA blue collar position to the deputy highway superintendent or assistant water wastewater superintendent, sorry. In retirement, the employer will pay $100 a month if hired by the town on or before 1/1/03, but before 12/31/17, and had continuous service with the town. An employee promoted from a former operating engineer or CSEA blue collar position to the deputy highway superintendent or assistant water wastewater superintendent position in retirement, the employee will pay 15% of the annual premium if hired by the town on or after 12/31/17 and had continuous service with the town. Motion to approve? And seconded?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And just to explain, very simply, our 2 incredible department heads, Craig Hiller, and Scott Gross, and I'm sorry, but do an incredible job. And upon promotion, they lost retirement health insurance benefits. And so they were getting less in retirement than they would have than their employees. And that's simply wrong. And so they would have had to demote themselves. Thankfully, hopefully, fingers crossed, they're not retiring anytime soon. But if eventually they leave, when they do leave, they would have to demote themselves for a period of time and serve and not leave in their position. And that's just not right. And they worked very hard, and they do an incredible job. And so we simply gave them the benefits that they would have had if they had not been promoted. That's all. So I want to thank them once again. Okay, so then we move on to 1612, request to advertise on May 6th, 2024 with a public hearing on May 13th, 2024 for a local law imposing a moratorium on approvals regarding solar array farms. So just one second. So motion to approve? And seconded?
Seconded.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So I should put in my announcements too. So we are going to have the public forum for a solar moratorium on May sixth, 6 p.m. And we're just double checking, but we're gonna have it at the school because we do expect a large attendance. So please make it if you can. It will be videotaped, recorded, and posted on the website as well.
If
Okay?
I could just interject. So the advertisement is going out May 6th. The hearing is on May 13th.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Monday, May 13th. But please attend it if you can, but it will be videotaped and will go online. And we will have minutes for the meeting as well. Okay, and we have a few regular supervisors announcements. And let me get to that. Actually, we have a bunch. Nothing crazy though. First of all, I want to say a huge thank you to all of the Little League organizers, coaches, and everyone who worked so hard to put the Little League together for this year as they do every year. They devote an amazing amount of time and attention. And I want to thank them for inviting us last Saturday, where most of the town board members were able to attend for the opening events. It was absolutely fantastic. The kids just were so excited, and it was so wonderful to see. But I want to thank all the people that really make it happen. And I want to thank especially our Parks Department, Craig Hiller, Andy, and all of the parks workers that ensure that those fields are in perfect shape for the Little Leaguers, and all of our other parks facilities are in perfect shape for all of us as well. So I want to thank them for all of their hard work to make that happen as well. I also want to thank Craig Keller, our park superintendent, but also our highway superintendent, who has an incredible responsibility, and yet he seems to make incredible things happen. If you haven't been there recently, please go by the rail trail. There are, I believe, 6 new park benches, and the benches themselves were donated by residents. They were donated benches. However, when you look at them, our Parks Department employees, I don't know who did it, Parks or Highway, who did the mechanics, but they did an incredible job. Not only are they utilitarian, it's a beautiful concrete pad and rock, you have to see it, like a rock retaining wall in the back. It's really gorgeous. And they do this without even thinking and without notice. The benches were donated, the concrete and the rocks, literally they had on hand, and they just make wonderful things happen all the time. So once again, I want to thank him and everybody for all their hard work to make that happen. And those people that donated the benches as well. Thanks to you as well. Front Street Day, there will be Saturday, June 1st from 10 to 3. Vendors can sign up by contacting the Recreation Department for details. So that should be a great event. And I want to thank Patrick Harnan, our recreation planner, for coordinating the whole event this year, in addition to everything else that he does with the summer programs. So we want to thank him and all of his staff. There is also still a burn ban in effect through May 14th. So please abide by it. We don't need any brush fires. And highway, just a few things for highway. Brush pickup will begin on May 6th and run monthly through September, beginning on the Monday of the first week of the month. And then when they start, the first Monday of every month, 2 teams work. One team starts on the west working east, and one team starts on the east working west until all of the roads have been covered. But they do remind everybody there are 136 miles of our roads. It takes them about a week. But if you have it out on day 1, you won't get missed. But they do also want to remind you, they don't come back twice. So please have it out the first time. And also as a reminder, Highway does an incredible job of repurposing. So they do get soil, clean soil, and it just in the course of their work. And when they do that, it is free for our residents. But please understand, they will deliver it to you, but they only do a truckload at a time and only when available. And they can't go anywhere but, which is easily accessible. So they can't go in your backyard if you want it there. You kind of have to get it there yourself. But it is free to all our residents, and you can call the highway department to find out particulars if you want and to put in your request. The second thing that they do, of course, is mulch. Monday through Friday is available. You can go and pick it up. And that is free for residents as well. But please, both for soil and for mulch, residents only. In the brush pickup, they also want to remind people that if you could put all of the brush on the curb or the roadside in one direction, parallel with the road, and leave it in the street, they would greatly appreciate it. And if they could leave the branch length up to 6 feet and no more, and no more than 6 inches in diameter. And lastly, and this is really important, please do not put any root balls out there, which are the big, underground part of the plants. Rocks, stones, lawn clippings, thorny brush, plant waste, ornamental grasses, vines, or regular grass. Most of the bigger stuff breaks the equipment. Please do not do it. Equipment is very expensive. And they really want to do a good job, and they can't really, it's hard for them to look at everything I'm sure they do, look at it as they pick up, but it's a lot more work for them. Please don't do it. Please separate it out and it's garbage, or if you want to get rid of it in a different way. That's it for my announcements. Does anybody have any other announcements? Okay, very good. I'm sorry, but it's kind of important. And then we will move on. We don't have any do we have any other committee chair updates? Anything you didn't mention? Okay, very good. Then we're going to move on to public comments. So once again, residents only on any topic is fine. Question or statement, please keep it under 3 minutes. And as we have been doing, please just be respectful of everybody in the room. It's not about people or personalities. It is, however, about town business and how we move forward. So please keep it based on that. What did I forget? And please say your name, and I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but if you can go to and speak up there, we really appreciate it. And those who watch the video appreciate it even more. So would anybody like to ask a question or make a comment? Okay.
Hello. Okay. Hi, my name is Evan McHugh. I live at 3120 Belmont Ave. I just wanted to make a comment saying I was kind of excited when the comprehensive plan committee was like being put together. And I just wanted to state that I think Vestal can gain a lot by adding stuff for pedestrians and bicyclists and not catering so much to cars in general. I don't know if anyone here really wants the parkway to grow any more than it does, but I just want to say it's a good opportunity and people in Vestal should be on board with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, does anybody else have any questions or comments? Ma'am?
Patty Fitzgerald, 409 Clayton Avenue. Has the town board considered doing a survey on the EMS tax district? Does our town residents realize that if we don't do a EMS tax district, that our EMS facilities is going to be gone? And I'm pretty sure that everybody in this room has probably used the Vestal ambulance one time or another, your neighbor, someone that you know. I don't think our residents want to lose our ambulance squad. You guys should start working on that. By the time you guys get done working on it, it'll be time to have the residents come up and vote for it. I think it's very important that we keep our ambulance squad here. If you guys have had the opportunity to use the Union ambulance squad, Town of Union has tax for their ambulances. Someplace down Lyle or someplace has it for theirs. Endicott, my sister was in a split level. per union tax for ambulance is less than $20. Less than $20 per ambulance district. So I hope all you people, and if she puts a survey out there, helps us keep our ambulance squad here in the town of Vestal.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
And it is on the agenda, so we are absolutely going to discuss it, right after the separation of the fire department, which is May 8th.
That's the hearing. but-
Yeah, so right after that, we were already in discussions with, the EMS chief. And as Ms. Fitzgerald has said, they really need money. They have struggled and cannot make it anymore independently. And they are going to come, they're going to talk to you themselves about it. They spoke to me and other town board members. And I want to tell you, they go, not only are they all volunteers, except for the paramedics, which it's just so much training that they have to pay people these days, but they just do an incredible job. So I won't speak for them because they're going to speak themselves. But we're going to have a whole presentation. And thank you for the suggestion. I think a survey would be wonderful as well. But mhm.
I met up with someone over the county Union ambulance squad, and he said that by having the tax district for the county Union ambulance, it doesn't really pay a whole heck of a lot for them. It does help them some. That's what we want to do. We want to help them some, regardless of what it is.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And we're definitely gonna be, they're really gonna do the presentation to you because they can say everything so much better than me. But it is so important. They even made a video, I believe. I know they did, and they're just so incredible as well. And we never thank them enough, but we will be bringing them to the board meetings so that everybody can hear from them. So thank you very much. Does anybody else have anything to say or a question? Okay, yes. Mhm.
Bill Stewart, Gardner Road. I just want to send a little warning out there. I've had the chance to see some of the solar projects come across the planning board. But I will say this, I think that this is a storm brewing, and you think people were upset with Bun Hill, you're gonna find out what people are upset with solar projects. And there's a lot of companies that want to put them here and everywhere. And there's a small amount of people in this room. And there's a huge amount of people out there that have no idea, and they're coming, and there's a lot of them. And what I'm not seeing, that just as cautionary, I'm not seeing these companies take into account how these residents are gonna feel when, the one project that I saw that went through, this man could have walked out his back deck previous to it, seen woods, and then after the solar project, he could have thrown his coffee cup and hit a solar panel. And I think we're gonna have a lot of really upset people if we don't make sure that this is done in a way where it doesn't affect so many people. We have a lot of land. We do, a lot of beautiful land, and it's people's right to build what they want. That being said, what I'm not seeing is from the solar companies is concern for neighbors. So I would just keep that in mind, because I do believe that that's going to be a big storm that brews. There's not a lot of people here because only a few projects have come. But what's Vestal have 30,000 residents, and you put 30 or 40 of those solar farms up there, what's there, 5 waiting? Put 30 or 40 companies coming in, you're gonna have a lot of upset people. It reminds me of the gas wells, right, in Pennsylvania. They came in, they're like, hey, these gas wells are great. We're gonna help you out. And then there's a few people with land that got gas wells. Everybody else was left in the dust. And I get the land rights, but all those people that live next to them, they had to look at those gas wells now. And it was right in their back door. And that's coming with solar. Don't be fooled. It's coming to your back door, all of you. So keep that in mind. They're
Oh,
reducing
thank
your
you very much.
value.
And I want to thank you very much for your work and on the planning committee and your write-up as well. I really appreciate it, as I do all our committee members for sure. But they did an amazing job, but that's why we need a moratorium. We need to get ourselves together. We need to review the solar law. We need to protect our residents as we consider these solar projects. And we need to make sure that we are well prepared so that we can plan accordingly. We're in the process of setting up the planning committee. We're going to see if we can prioritize solar. The moratorium will be as short as we think is feasible, but we have to take the time to do it correctly. So thank you very much. I appreciate your comments. And anybody have any other questions or? Okay, with that. Yes, I'm sorry.
Brian Harrington, 569 Tracy Creek Road and 588 Tracy Creek Road. I'd like to reiterate what I said the other night, 2 nights ago. And I believe that the town should do similar to what the state does. That if a company's gonna come in and they're gonna put an application in, there ought to be a reach out to people that are near where this proposed solar farm will go so that they can be involved in the planning stage, in the siting stage. So that would be like reaching out to them before you get into the siting of it, just like you do after it goes to the board, you reach out. You need to get front end of that. You got to be reaching out to people. People don't know what's going on. And I'd say you got to reach out 1,000 feet from the property line. Town should consider hiring a reputable environmental attorney, well experienced in the solar farm and solar facility field, with an emphasis on working and protecting the interests of the town, the public, and non-participating properties near the solar projects. I do not believe that the town has all the expertise they need on the solar farm. I believe you need to bring somebody in, again, that's worked with municipalities and they're very reputable, and have them help you if you need it. Because there's a lot of things you got to deal with. You got to deal with noise. Got to know what the noise is at the property line, at the house. What makes how much noise? Now they have the tracking motors. What kind of noise do they make? You can have the inverters. And so you've got a lot of things. And if you don't know this stuff, you're going to get in trouble. Okay, that's it.
No, thank you. And we will definitely be looking into it. And I want to thank everybody else who has also made suggestions as well. Because we will be doing all of that in that moratorium because we must to protect our residents. And I want to thank once again our planning board who also asked for a comprehensive plan and who also asked for some time to prepare better because they're absolutely amazing because they are very concerned about our residents, as are our board members as well. And so we have to do it right. And we have to make sure that we look into all of this and we need the time to do it. So thank you. Yes.
Andrew Schuman, 233 Shoot Mill Road in Bethel. Great notes from the previous speaker. Something that would have been very good for the Bun Hill development. But thank you. We have a new board. What are you going to do to watch this Bun Hill development piping? Have you looked at the Bun Hill Creek at all? Have you gone all the way down through to the lower ends to see how this is all going to develop? What side, have you worked with the water, with the Johnson City Vestal water treatment plant in the event of a high density storm? If they shut down, what will happen to the residents at the lower end? Like sewage and water.
Okay, but did you want to add before I answer?
No,
Okay, so once again, our water sewer superintendent is absolutely amazing. He's calculated everything. And specific to, I know that you had concerns about your own residents. The sewer line does not extend to you. It actually goes down to, will go down to the Vestal Parkway, which is actually northbound, and then it goes east. So it does not go to the other side of the Vestal Parkway. He has looked into all the particulars. He's absolutely amazing at what he does. And there's no issues with either capacity or ability. However, he will stay on top of it. Our engineer will stay on top of all developing. Any issues that arise will be addressed as we go forward. As with any other thing that they deal with, they stay on top of every project, but I know this one is particularly heartfelt by a lot of people. And of course, we are going to ensure that not only is it done the way it's supposed to be done, that everything is done as well as possible. So it will be monitored and it will be assessed. And if corrections need to be made, it will be made as they go forward.
do you have drones to do aerial shots as to what's going on? There would be any substitutions? Is there a different rate, time of piping, one cheaper than the other?
I leave the specifics to the experts and we'll do what we need to do. But they can usually see from the ground what happened and, actually they always can see from the ground what's going on. And they will do inspections when need be. They will handle it. So.
Will the residents in the Bun Hill area be informed on a weekly basis as to how this project is developing?
Our town engineer will keep in touch with the town board. That's the appropriate procedure. So if there's any issues though, everybody's free to email us and we will answer our emails as we always do. We will find out the facts and get them to you.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Okay, does anybody else? Sir? Thank you.
Hey, my name is William Gary. I live at 409 Tracy Creek Road. The three issues that I talked about Monday night that weren't on the minutes, I've already spoken with Deborah and she has them now and they will go forward. Now, as you people on the board are gathering everybody's thoughts and concerns, I want you to be able to get all the valuable information at whatever source you use. You're going to be piling up all sorts of stuff as people are expressing their opinions. The third point that I did have though was the health risks. And the health concerns, what are the solar panels made of that our grandchildren will have to deal with? That's when they're going to be decommissioned and our grandchildren have to deal with that stuff. I understand that they are sealed, but what's inside and what comes out when they are broken by hail or trees from a storm? That's some of the science we all need to know. I don't think we need to hear from an out-of-towner that doesn't have to live below these farms. And you can say that the member wants to know what is inside the panels, Deborah. Thank you. This solar farm will disrupt a wildlife corridor. There are at least 66 or more different animals that pass through or live in this wooded area. Countless reptiles, amphibians, and beneficial insects such as the honeybee and other pollinators. Possibly the northern long-eared brown bat, which is endangered, and the threatened Cooper's hawk live here, to name a couple. I'm concerned about the wildlife. Thank you for the time to speak.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And thank you for the copies. Thank you for the copies. Okay, does anybody have it? Sir?
My name's Roger Nielsen and I live on Tracy Creek Road and referring to the solar project. We're not the first, and there's a lot of information out there. A lot of schools, a lot of that we have to look at, which I agree with. And basically, that's all I have to say, other than be careful. And there's more, there's a lot to look at, don't get me wrong. But a lot of it has already been studied and let's not reinvent the wheel every time somebody has a bitch. Thank you.
No, thank you. Yeah, in fact, I was just talking to a town supervisor from Union, and they're putting out new solar laws because they had issues. So looking at and speaking to people from different areas and their experiences, their problems, and looking how they corrected it. So we're looking at models. We're looking what has worked, what issues have occurred. But in talking to different supervisors from different towns in the surrounding areas that have already gone through this whole process and are still going through it, we want to learn from their mistakes before we make any. So yes, thank you very much. I appreciate it. But we definitely want to look at that as well. So thank you. Any other questions or comments, sir?
So on a light, oh, sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Eric Kretzmer, 824 East Circle Drive, Estill, New York. On a light note, we're talking about EMS. They're having a golf tournament fundraiser.
Ah.
That is May 4th, if anybody is interested to sign up. They're still looking for some teams. Tall Pines, 9 o'clock. Full sponsors. Yeah. Do you want to come up?
So May 4th, I'm sorry, where's the golf course?
Tall Pines.
Tall Pines?
Yep.
And if somebody wanted to attend for the camera, for the minutes, who would they contact?
Call Jerry Schultz.
Jerry Schultz. Okay, thank you.
At EMS, right?
Yep.
Or Schultz
Correct.
Automotive. Yeah. And on a more serious note, there is a story going around about a bounce check from the Vestal town. Does anybody have any information on that?
I actually don't, and
So, no.
I'm sorry, what?
Okay, so there was. Okay,
Okay, so I will look into it. So,
thank you.
and me after the meeting. Okay.
Thank you, Lynn.
Okay, so I know you're good at handling, but I do need to know. Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much for attending. Motion to
Motion to
adjourn.
adjourn.
Seconded. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much for coming tonight.
Thank you.
It's okay. Let's talk to, I'll talk to other people, then I'm gonna find you. Okay. Thank you.